all of this is true.
There are some movies you watch because you are curious, and then there are movies that arrive carrying the weight of a full-blown cinematic event. Right now, Disclosure Day looks like the second kind, when Spielberg starts talking directly about disclosure, empathy, and the possibility that humanity could be changed for the better by learning we are not alone. The movie stops sounding like a standard UFO thriller and starts sounding like something much more ambitious. This is not being pitched as a story of a spaceship landing and people screaming. It is being framed as a story about revelation, transformation, and the psychological shock of finally learning that the biggest truth imaginable has been hidden from us the entire time. That is a much stronger hook than aliens are here. The latest trailer finally sharpens the human core of the story too. We already knew Josh O'Connor as Daniel Kellner was central to the conspiracy angle, and that he appears to have stolen government secrets related to alien life. We also already knew that makes him a target. But now the marketing is making it much clearer that Daniel is not just a whistleblower with stolen files. He is personally connected to the phenomenon itself. And once that gets tied to Emily Blunt's Margaret, the movie becomes much more interesting. Margaret is not simply witnessing something strange from a distance. She seems to be touched by it, altered by it, and somehow linked to Daniel through experiences that stretch all the way back to childhood that changes the energy of the entire film. Because once the story moves from these people know a secret to these people may have been shaped by the secret, the stakes stop being purely informational and become emotional, spiritual, and maybe even existential. Margaret speaking in that eerie, clicking alien language during a weather report was already one of the most memorable images in the earlier marketing. But now it feels less like a random creepy moment and more like part of a deeper pattern. Something has happened to her. Something may have happened to Daniel too. And if they were both exposed to some form of alien contact or experimentation when they were younger, then Disclosure Day is not just about revealing what the government knows. It is about the people discovering what was done to them and what that now makes them capable of becoming. That is where Spielberg seems to be aiming the real emotional force of the movie. Emily Blunt's own comments push that idea even further. The way she describes Margaret suggests a character who is suddenly forced to live inside a reality that no longer follows normal human boundaries. She says Margaret is granted abilities she never had before, and that she and Daniel become the holders of a secret that could change the world. That phrasing matters. They are not just witnesses. They are carriers. They are living evidence. And if the government is hunting them not only because of what they know, but because of what they are becoming, then Disclosure Day may be working on a much more unsettling level than its basic premise first suggested. That is also why the argument about whether Spielberg is showing too much of the alien before release feels a little beside the point to me. Yes, the marketing has clearly already shown flashes of the UFO and even parts of the alien itself. At this point, it is obvious the movie is not treating the creature reveal as some sacred final card that must be hidden at all costs. But that only really hurts the film if the movie's greatest asset is supposed to be the question of what the alien looks like. And I really do not think that is the game Spielberg is playing here. Everything about this campaign suggests the opposite. The alien is not the destination, it is the doorway. What matters is how contact rearranges the minds, values, and identities of the people who are forced to live through it. That is a much more Spielbergian idea anyway when Spielberg is at his best in science fiction. He is rarely interested in spectacle for spectacle's sake. He is interested in threshold experiences. He wants to take ordinary people, place them on the edge of something impossible, and then show us what all fear, grief, or wonder does to them once they cross that line. That is why Emily Blunt feels like such perfect casting here. She has the exact combination this story needs. She can play toughness and vulnerability at the same time. She can make a character feel grounded even while the world around her is becoming completely unreal. If Margaret really is the emotional anchor of this film, Blunt looks more than capable of carrying that weight. And the first reactions are only making that belief stronger. What really jumps out from the earliest responses is not just that people like the movie, it is the language they are using. They are describing Disclosure Day as strange, emotional, thrilling, mysterious, funny, moving, and surprisingly unpredictable. That is the sweet spot for Spielberg. Bill Bria calling it the weirdest Spielberg movie in the best possible way is not small praise. Jermaine Lussier describing it as Spielberg's best film in 20 years is the kind of statement that instantly raises expectations. Steven Weintraub practically begged people to stop watching the trailers and go in as blind as possible, which is usually one of the strongest signs that a movie is doing something genuinely special. Drew Taylor and Jim Hemphill both leaned into the feeling that this is top-tier Spielberg, not late-career Spielberg on autopilot. That is huge. And what makes those reactions even more interesting is that Emily Blunt keeps showing up as one of the film's biggest strengths. Over and over, people are calling out her performance as one of the key reasons the movie works. That matters because if Disclosure Day wants to be more than just a spectacle machine, it needs a human center strong enough to hold all of its strangeness together. It sounds like Blunt may be exactly that center. If the movie really does hinge on Margaret's transformation, fear, connection to Daniel, and growing understanding of the truth, then having Blunt deliver one of the standout performances of her career could be the thing that pushes this from very good sci-fi blockbuster to something much more memorable. At 145 minutes, the film also sounds like it has the space to explore all of this properly. That runtime tells me Spielberg and David Koepp are not rushing to the next explosion every 5 minutes. They are likely giving the mystery room to breathe, giving the conspiracy room to unfold, and giving the emotional consequences of contact enough time to actually land. That is important. A film like this cannot just be plot. It has to feel like escalation, discovery, and internal rupture all happening at once. A shorter, more disposable version of this story might have reduced everything to a government chase with aliens in the background. Disclosure Day sounds like it is trying to be bigger than that without becoming empty spectacle. That balance is hard.